A report out this week from the Institute for Government is suggesting that the government's proposals to reduce the number of jury trials will not have much impact on the enormous backlog of cases that are waiting to be heard. They reckon that about 2% saving in time will be achieved, which is frankly not very much. Just to put this in context, there's about 80,000 cases now waiting to be heard in the Crown Court, which is a huge number, far, far bigger than ever before. And they're expecting that that number of 80,000 will increase to about 100,000 in 2028, unless something very, very radical is done to reduce it. I'm often asked when I talk about the broken economy, what do I mean by broken? In what sense is the UK's economy broken? Because that's the premise of Bonkers economics, that we are running an economy that's fundamentally bonkers, which is contributing to a system which is broken, which is not working. So what do I mean by broken? Well, you can say what you like about what government should or shouldn't be doing in terms of health or education or paying pensions or lots of other things. But one thing we can say for sure is that the government is responsible for the administration of justice. And that has been true right back to the very earliest societies. It takes you back 6,000 years if you want to go back that far, but certainly in England we've got the emergence of the common law associated with King Alfred the Great in the 800s. And the tradition of law in the UK has been there for well over 1,000 years. And the government has been responsible for its administration. And it is a core activity of government. And without that, the government is frankly not doing its most basic task. So if that's not working, well, that's something which is palpably broken. Then we can get a bit of a picture of what we mean by a broken economy, because the legal system is part of that economy. It's part of what allows the wheels to turn on the economy. It's what allows us to function as a society. It what allows us to have relationships with people, allows us to have business relationships, trading relationships, personal relationships. It allows us to feel secure and safe in our society. So it is really, really important. It's a key part of the responsibility of government. And if they're not doing that, then we can say, hang on a minute, something is genuinely broken. And we could apply that to other things. We could apply that to the fact that the roads are so littered with potholes, for example. Again, it's a key responsibility of government to maintain the roads, you would say. We could apply it to the water industry, which we can see in England at least is completely broken, doesn't function, doesn't do what we need it to do, which is to provide clean water and not to fill our rivers and seas with sewage. So those sort of things we can see, they're broken. And the administration of justice is the classic example of something which is broken, because you can't have 80,000 people waiting for court cases. If somebody is committed for trial round about now, they may not get that case heard until 2030. And that means that the victims are waiting that long. It means that the individual could be in jail for several years on remand and be found not guilty at the end of it. There's all sorts of possibilities here for the system to fail, to not meet our needs as a society. So yes, that's broken, and that's to do with resources. We don't put enough resources into these activities, then they won't work. And when we talk about resources, well, we can say, well, that's more money, isn't it? But actually, it's not really more money. What it is more work. It's more prioritization. It's more people being involved in those activities rather than other activities. And here's a couple of images to explain that. I mean, this is the image where we talk about solicitors, and the blue line there, that's the number of solicitors per 10,000 people that we had back in 1980. And then in red, we've got the number today, or nearly today, and that's 26. So we've gone from 8 to 26. That's roughly speaking a 3 times increase in the number of solicitors per 10,000 people. And yet we don't have enough lawyers functioning in the criminal justice system to make it work. And that's because all our resources, all those resources have gone into commercial law. They've gone into fundamentally people exchanging wealth one to the other, making rich people richer, generally speaking, but not creating anything new, not actually contributing anything fundamentally important to society other than sorting out arguments between people who've got plenty of resources and who can pay all these people. And then here we've got another, this image shows the entire UK economy in a snapshot, and we've seen this before, but here in the middle we've got the administration of government, and that means essentially what civil servants get up to, and also it includes the army, it includes the police, it includes the Home Office, prisons, the justice system, all that sort of stuff. And it's only about 5% of the total. It's pretty small. So it's not much resource going there compared to the enormous resources that are going here into the business and financial trading activities here. And when I say business and financial services, I don't mean making things, because that's all down here. I mean the administration and financial services associated with business. And here we've got the property market, we've got rents and the property market and that sort of thing. So a third of the economy is taken up with these sorts of activities, which are basically pushing money from one person to another without creating anything new. And we've got this relatively small amount in the middle here, which is allowing the government to do these fundamental and basic things. Now, we can hope, in the present geopolitical situation, we can hope that what the government is doing with our armed forces is going to be sufficient to meet the needs that may arise in the next few years. But we know for certain that what the government is doing with the resources required for the criminal justice system is not sufficient. That's why we can say, look, fundamentally that part of the government is broken. So that's what we mean by the broken economy. It doesn't do what it needs to do. And we're incredibly wealthy in the UK. We're a very rich country. And yet we can't make basic things like the justice system work. And so we can legitimately say, hang on, that's broken. It's not working. And it's leading to a broken government because the government can't do what it has to do. And that ultimately will lead to a broken society where people are not receiving justice, victims are not seeing justice, and people no longer have confidence in the system. And then it begins to break down and we get the polarization and the irrational argument and the post-truth society that we're talking about and we see so much of, because the whole thing sort of crumbles before our eyes because we're not putting resources where we need to run a strong, effective and coherent society.